What will it take for Canadian housing to become more affordable to purchase? Well, one possible answer is that the average wage may actually have to decrease. Yeah, decrease for purchase prices to be affordable. Yes, I understand that makes possibly very little sense because I would assume increasing wages would be the easier way for housing to become more affordable for most people. But unfortunately, that's not really the way it works. And I'm going to tell you why in today's video. But first, I would love to invite you to subscribe to this channel if you would like to stay up to date on Surrey, Fraser Valley, and yes, Canadian real estate. Subscribing to this channel does not just keep you informed, but it will also help me beat the pants off of Tom's Story to 10,000 subscribers. So if you could subscribe, I would really appreciate it because Tom already has, well, age, looks, weight, and intelligence over me. So this might be my last chance to finally beat him at something. And of course, if you need help here in my market of Surrey and the Fraser Valley, you can go ahead and book a buying consultation, selling consultation, or even just a discovery call to see how my team can help you. And now, on to affordable housing that will never be affordable. Even after the market has crashed in some places outside of Vancouver, like Mission, by about 40%. Yup. 40% cheaper, but no more affordable. So first we have to address why house prices went up so much. And the overwhelming reason is not really inventory or population growth. There is an argument that those two things will contribute to high prices in areas like Vancouver and Toronto for a long time, but it's not necessarily the biggest part of the equation. The real reason is that interest rates dropped so low and payments became extremely cheap, relatively speaking, causing everyone to want to get into the market, upsize, or even maybe buy a second property for investment or recreation. Then when inflation ran wild with all that spending on housing and every other economic sector, central banks were forced to increase those really, really low interest rates. And as a result, that killed the market. And yes, prices too dropped almost as fast as they increased. But even though prices have dropped by $400,000 to $500,000 in some markets, I'm very sorry to tell you, housing hasn't gotten any cheaper. In fact, it's likely only become more expensive. But there is good reason for that. And that thing is called your GDS, or your gross debt servicing ratio. This is the amount of income you are allowed to spend on housing when applying for a new mortgage in Canada. Currently, the Canadian banking system has the GDS limit set to a maximum of 39% of your income to go towards your housing if you are looking for a CMHC insured mortgage. Or if you can avoid CMHC insurance by putting, say, 20% down or more, you could increase to your TDS, or your total debt servicing ratio, of 44%. In other words, if you make $100,000 per year, the government will allow you to spend $3,250 per month on housing if it's an insured mortgage, and up to $3,666 a month if you're uninsured. Now, it's important to point out that this is your total housing costs with no other debts. So things like credit cards and car payments would make that amount you can spend lower. Also, property taxes, utilities, 50% of your new strata fees if you're buying a strata would fit within that payment. And to make it even harder to understand, it isn't actually what you would pay because the GDS and TDS are both applied to Canada's mortgage stress test. So for example, if the bank gave you a rate of 5.5%, the $3,250 per month should be calculated as if you were actually paying 7.5% on your mortgage. But you aren't. What this all means is no matter what you qualify for, it will always be, in this case, between 39 and 44% of your income. So when house prices come down, they are often doing that because interest rates and the cost of borrowing has gone up. And that ends up getting you the exact same payment as before with low interest rates, but with higher prices. So if you think in these terms and you want more disposable income after you pay for your housing, specifically if it's a new purchase, you may actually need the average income of the average person to decline so the average person could actually afford less. And then you, at the same time, would have to maintain your current income. Or if everyone else's wages could magically just stay the same, you would have to start making a lot more than everyone else for your affordability to improve. Because house prices, specifically in markets like mine in the suburbs that have working class people with often 70 to 90% financing, well, these markets are always going to float with wages and how they relate to current debt servicing ratios and interest rates. In other words, if you want to own a property, the bank is probably going to get 39% of your income, no matter if the actual purchase price is higher or lower. But that being said, one way to maybe beat the system is to simply buy below your means. If you can buy for less than the pre-approval given to you by the bank, then yes, you technically have more affordable housing. But let's face it, in my market outside of Vancouver, when the average apartment is $500,000, most people end up spending to the limit just to get into anything that actually fits their needs. If you would like to find out what you can afford in today's market with today's interest rates, go ahead and start a mortgage application with Citywide Mortgage Services using the link in the description below. And while you're down there, you can book a call with me, subscribe to the channel, click the like button, and come back for another video in a couple of days.